Welcome back to Jeff Randall Live. Now, Marks and Spencer's chief executive insisted today that the retailer's clothing sales were starting to improve despite falling for 8 quarters in a row. Marc Bolland's comments came as he faced investors at the company's annual general meeting. Sales of the company's new autumn-winter range, which launches later this month, will come under intense scrutiny as analysts look for signs of an upturn. M&S's overall group sales rose by 3.3%, while like-for-like UK food sales remained positive, up 1.8%. M&S, of course, avoided involvement in the horsemeat scandal. The company also saw a strong performance online, with M&S.com sales up by almost 30%. Focus is now on Marks & Spencer's new fashion designer Belinda Earl, who launches her new range on July the 25th. Well, joining me now is Eric Musgrave, editorial director at the fashion weekly magazine Drapers. Nice to see you, Eric. Thanks for coming in. This is becoming a rather dreary, familiar storyline, isn't it? Food up, clothing down.
Absolutely, Jeff. You've said it on the spot. I was on my way here. I was trying to remember how long we've been hearing this, and it must be over 10 years that we've been hearing exactly the same story. There's going to be a change round. We're going to improve our ranges. We've got some new designers in. We're going to improve our store environments, etc., etc., etc. The sad thing for M&S is that the market has moved on. Old hands like you and I, and some of your older viewers, may remember that a long time ago there was a sector in the retail business called variety stores, and the 4 big ones that really dominated the high street included Littlewoods, gone completely, included C&A, they just left Britain one day, BHS, which even the great Sir Philip Green cannot really do very much with, and the one remainder is M&S. I'm afraid it's a tired, out-of-date format.
So, while people are saying so much swings on this new range from Belinda Earl, you're saying good news, bad news, it's too late.
There's too much. We're trying to mend something that shouldn't be mended. It should be broken up and started again in a different format. The frustration...
Hang on a minute. You're saying we should break up the great Marks & Spencer?
I think that's a survival route.
You can only really do that if you took it private.
That would be the obvious thing to do. I have thought for years, what could one do with Marks & Spencer? And it seems to me that there's too many inherent problems. You have a bureaucratic ethos there. I know people who work there, as I know you do. They're very, very talented people, but there seems an inability to make that creativity shine through.
I think we can assume that Sir Philip Green no longer has the appetite and the energy to do this. So, is there a likely bidder out there amongst private equity?
I've wondered whether somebody maybe would come in from abroad with more money than sense and say, I would love to have this jewel in the British retail crown. Or there may be some smarter people sitting in an office like this somewhere, Jeff, thinking, you know what, we could take M&S. It's got lots of property. Let's not forget, it's got lots of really good points. It still makes 665 million quid, which I wouldn't mind having on a yearly basis. But it can't continue as it is. Food and clothing ought to be separated. The whole landscape has changed in the last 15 years.
What about this new fashion range on which so much swings? Have you seen it? What's your take?
I saw a little bit of it. I went to the press launch, which was a couple of months ago. I was, as I was expected, I was underwhelmed by a lot of it. There was, as always with M&S, there's some beautiful pieces in there. There's some great stuff on menswear, which I tend to look at with more interest. I fear this is we have heard this before from M&S under various managements. This is the one that's going to do it. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be a silver bullet. It may be better, Jeff, but it's not going to get people of 35, 30, 40 evening going back to M&S. They've gone somewhere else, that's obvious by the sales, and they're not going to come back.
What's your view of Bolland himself? He's been there 3 years now, so he's no longer the new boy.
Correct.
He made his name in Britain at Morrison's food retailing, and I think most people believe that he does get that. But does the fashion industry believe that he gets fashion?
No. No, I don't think so at all. He's a very able retailer, but you know the massive size of M&S's clothing range, and let's face it, he's still in many categories the #1 in the UK. it needs a specialist, and I look there and I think, who have they got the specialist now? They've had specialists that have been shown the door either by their volition or by the management's volition, and Belinda is again a very able retailer, but I don't think anybody who's ever worked with her at Debenhams would say that she's a merchandise person, and she's only there 2 days a week.
Very briefly, Eric, we're running out of time. Do you believe Marc Bolland will be there in 2 years' time?
No.
You think the shareholders will have had enough?
Oh, definitely. I think he probably won't be there in the spring.
Come back on the show if that happens. Nice to see you, Eric. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
Musgrave there. Right, that's almost